My hands were covered in blood. Not the usual kind that washes off after a 12-hour shift. This was different. Welcome back, my friends and family. This is part 2 of our beautiful story. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I truly invite you to go back and experience the beginning of this emotional journey. But if you've already walked with us through part 1, then sit back, open your heart, and let's continue together, because what comes next will touch you even deeper. He had given the order that led to my father's disappearance and my mother's death and 12 years of grief and loss. The videos he had shown me, the story about being drugged and his signature forged, it was all a lie. Or those videos existed, but this was different. This was real. This was his signature on the document that destroyed my life. Dante Russo wasn't innocent. He wasn't a victim of his mother's manipulation or his family's legacy. He was complicit. He had made the choice. He had signed his name. And I had fallen for every word he said. I stood in Dante's office, holding the evidence of his betrayal in my shaking hands, and felt something inside me break. Not just my heart. Something deeper. The fragile hope I hadn't even realized I'd been carrying. The dangerous, stupid, impossible hope that maybe he was different. That maybe the universe had brought us together for a reason that wasn't cruel. That maybe I could have justice and love and healing all at once. I had been a fool. The document blurred through my tears. I took photos of it with my phone, my fingers fumbling over the screen. Evidence. Proof. Everything I had been searching for. Dante Russo had signed the order that destroyed my family. He had lied to me about being manipulated, about being innocent, about wanting to be better than his legacy. Every word, every touch, every moment between us had been built on a foundation of lies. Or had it? A small voice in my head whispered doubts. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe the document didn't mean what I thought it meant. Maybe I should ask him before jumping to conclusions. But I had seen my father's signature forged enough times in my own imagination to know the difference between coercion and choice. This signature was bold, confident, certain. This was a man who knew exactly what he was signing. I heard movement from the living room. Dante was waking up. I shoved the file back in the drawer, closed it as quietly as I could, and slipped out of the office. My mind raced. I could leave now. Sneak out while he was still groggy. Take my evidence and figure out what to do with it. Go to the police, the FBI, anyone who would listen. But the police had dismissed my father's disappearance 12 years ago. They had dismissed my break-in last month. They wouldn't care about a document from a decade ago, especially not one targeting the Russo family. The Russos owned too many people, had too much power. My father had learned that lesson the hard way. No, the police wouldn't help me. I needed something more. I needed leverage. I needed to expose them in a way they couldn't escape from. Sienna. Dante's voice was rough with sleep. He appeared in the hallway, his shirt rumpled, his hair messy. He smiled when he saw me. I thought you left. Come back to bed. It's too early to be awake. I looked at him and saw two people overlapping. The man who had kissed me like I was precious, and the 20-year-old who had signed my father's death warrant. I didn't know which one was real. Maybe they both were. Maybe that was the cruelest truth of all. I need to go, I said, my voice barely steady. I have an early shift. He frowned. It's 4 in the morning. Your shift doesn't start until 7. I need to prepare. He crossed the space between us, concern written across his face. What's wrong? You look upset. Did something happen? Everything. Nothing. 12 years of grief crystallizing into this moment. I'm fine. I just need to go. His hand touched my arm gently. Sienna, talk to me. Whatever it is, we can work through it. The tenderness in his voice nearly broke me. How could someone who looked at me like that have destroyed my family? How could someone who talked about wanting to be better have made the choice to liquidate innocent people's lives? The contradiction was making me insane. I pulled away from his touch. I'll call you later. Wait. He grabbed my hand, not forcefully but firmly enough to stop me. Something's wrong. I can see it in your eyes. Please, just tell me what's going on." And suddenly I couldn't hold it in anymore. All the rage and pain and betrayal came pouring out. "When did you decide?" My voice was shaking. "When did you decide which families to destroy and which ones to spare? Did you flip a coin? Did you close your eyes and point at a map? Or did you carefully consider each business you stole, each life you ruined, each person who disappeared because they wouldn't give you what you wanted?" He stepped back like I'd slapped him. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about liquidation, about acquisition, about all the polite words your family uses for theft and murder." I was yelling now, past the point of pretending. "I'm talking about the decisions you made when you were 20 years old, about the orders you signed, about the people who paid the price for your empire." His face had gone pale. "Sienna, where is this coming from? Where do you think? From the truth you've been hiding. From the past you told me to forget." I pulled out my phone and showed him the photo I'd taken of the document. "From this. Your signature. Your approval. Your choice." He stared at the image on my screen and something shifted in his expression. Recognition. Horror. But not surprise. He knew exactly what document I was talking about. "You went through my files." His voice was quiet, dangerous. "You destroyed my family." The words hung in the air between us. Dante's eyes widened as understanding crashed over him. "Your family. Moretti. Oh God. Nico Moretti was your father." "Yes." The word came out broken. "Nico Moretti owned a restaurant in Little Italy that your family wanted. When he refused to sell, your mother sent her men. They took him and he never came home. My mother died a year later from a broken heart. I was 16 years old and suddenly I had nothing. No parents. No home. No family business. Nothing. Because the Russo family decided they wanted what was ours and they took it." If you're feeling Sienna's rage right now, leave a comment. Tell me if you think she should have confronted him or kept investigating. Dante sank onto the couch like his legs wouldn't hold him anymore. He put his head in his hands. "I remember that case. I remember that restaurant. God, Sienna, I remember your father." "You remember signing the order to liquidate him?" "No. I remember refusing to sign it. I remember fighting with my mother about it. I remember." He looked up at me, his face anguished. "The document you found. When was it dated?" "April 27th, 2012. He stood and strode past me into his office. I followed, watching as he pulled out the file I'd just gone through. He flipped to the document with shaking hands. "This isn't my signature," he said. "It has your name on it. Look closer." He held it up to the light. "Look at the R in Russo. I always do a flourish on the upstroke. It's automatic. I've done it since I learned to write. This signature doesn't have it. And the D in Dante is wrong. Too angular. My D's are rounded." I grabbed the document from him, studying it closely. He was right. The differences were subtle, but they were there. It could still be you. Signatures vary. It's not me. It's my mother forging my signature. She did it constantly those first few years when I was learning the business. Any decision I wouldn't make, she'd make for me and sign my name. He pulled out his phone and started scrolling frantically. "I told you before. I showed you the videos. She drugged me and forged my name on documents I never would have approved. This is one of them. How convenient. How perfect that you have an excuse for every terrible thing your family did." "It's not an excuse, it's the truth." He found what he was looking for on his phone and shoved it at me. "Look, this is from my phone's GPS history. April 27th, 2012. Where was I?" I looked at the screen. The date in question showed him at Columbia University all day. Not at the Russo offices. Not anywhere near where this document would have been signed. "I was finishing my senior year," he said quietly. "I was trying to have one last semester of normal before my entire life became about the family business. My mother handled everything that month. She told me I should focus on graduating, that she'd take care of things until I was ready to fully step into my role. His laugh was bitter. I thought she was being kind, giving me space. I didn't realize she was using my absence to make all the decisions I wouldn't have the stomach for. I wanted to believe him. God, how badly I wanted to believe him. But I had trusted him before and been betrayed by that trust. Even if you didn't sign this specific document, you're still part of the family that destroyed mine. You still benefit from what they took. You still run the empire built on my father's grave. You're right. He didn't argue, didn't make excuses. You're absolutely right. I've benefited from crimes I didn't commit. I've built my life on foundations laid by people who did terrible things. And I've spent the last 12 years trying to figure out how to make that right without destroying the 300 innocent people who work for companies my family owns. People with families, with mortgages, with lives that depend on me not burning everything down in a fit of conscience. So you just keep going. Keep pretending the blood on your hands is old enough not to matter. No. I try to change things. To make the business legitimate. To find the families we hurt and make restitution. To be better than the legacy I inherited. His eyes bored into mine. And I fail. Every single day I fail because my mother fights me on every front, and the old guard wants things to stay exactly as they've always been, and I'm just one person trying to turn around a ship that's been sailing in the wrong direction for generations. He crossed the space between us, and I could see tears in his eyes. I looked for your family, Sienna. After I found out what my mother did, after I saw the files on families she'd liquidated without my knowledge, I looked for survivors. For anyone I could help. For any way to make amends. But the Moretti family was listed as having no surviving members. Your father was declared dead. Your mother had passed. There was no one left to make restitution to. I was left. I survived. You changed your name. You disappeared. You were in foster care under a different name to protect you from. He stopped abruptly. From what? Finish the sentence, Dante. His jaw clenched. From my mother. Dr. Okonkwo reached out to our family's legal team. He offered to not pursue any investigation into your father's disappearance in exchange for money to take care of you and a guarantee that you'd be left alone. My mother agreed. She paid for your education through an anonymous scholarship fund. She made sure you had protection. But only if you stayed gone. Only if you never came back asking questions. The room spun. Dr. Okonkwo made a deal with your family? He saved your life. If my mother had known you existed, if she'd seen you as a threat, she would have eliminated you the same way she eliminated your father. Okonkwo protected you the only way he could. By making you disappear. I couldn't breathe. All these years, I had thought Dr. Okonkwo took me in out of kindness. Out of the goodness of his heart. But it had been part of a deal with the family that killed my father. My entire life had been shaped by Russo money, Russo decisions, Russo control. Even my escape from them had been orchestrated by them. I need to leave. I pushed past Dante toward the door. Sienna, please. Let me help. Let me make this right. I spun around. Make it right. How exactly do you plan to do that, Dante? Can you bring back my father? Can you give me back the 12 years I spent thinking I was alone in the world? Can you erase the nightmares and the grief and the hole in my chest where my family used to be? No. But I can give you justice. I can help you bring down the person actually responsible. My mother. She gave the orders. She forged my signature. She's the one who decided your father was an obstacle that needed to be removed. He grabbed my shoulders, his eyes intense. Help me take her down. We work together, we gather evidence. We build a case so airtight she can't buy or threaten her way out of it. We make her pay for what she did to your family and every other family she's destroyed. Why would I trust you? Because I'm giving you something no one else can. Access. I can get you close to my mother. I can get you into family meetings, into private conversations, into places where she lets her guard down. I can help you find proof of everything she's done. His hands tightened on my shoulders. But more than that, You should trust me because I love you. I'm in love with you, Sienna. I have been since the moment I woke up in that hospital and saw your face. And I know the timing is terrible and the circumstances are impossible, and I have no right to feel this way about the daughter of a man my family destroyed. But I do. I love you. And I want to spend the rest of my life trying to earn your forgiveness. The words hit me like a physical blow. He loved me. The son of my father's killer loved me. And the most terrifying part was that somewhere in the past 2 months, somewhere between the dinners and the conversations and the moments when he looked at me like I was his salvation, I had fallen in love with him too. I had fallen in love with the enemy. Hit that subscribe button if your heart is breaking right along with mine. Drop a comment telling me if Sienna should trust Dante or if this is the biggest mistake she could make. I can't do this, I whispered. I can't be in love with you. I can't trust you. I can't work with you. Every time I look at you, I see my father's face. I see the ring you wore, the one that belonged to my family. I see everything I lost. Then use that. His voice was fierce. Use that rage. Use that pain. Channel it into destroying the person who actually deserves it. My mother killed your father. Not me. She forged documents and gave orders and built an empire on the backs of people like your family. Help me bring her down. Help me make sure she never hurts anyone else. I stared into his eyes and saw desperation and love and something that looked like truth. But I had been fooled before. I had believed in things that turned out to be lies. How could I trust my own judgment when it came to Dante Russo? I need time, I said finally. I need to think. How much time? I don't know. Days. Weeks. Maybe forever. I pulled away from him and headed for the door. Don't call me. Don't show up at the hospital. Don't send flowers or gifts or any of the things you've been doing. I need space to figure out what's real and what's manipulation. Everything between us is real, he said quietly. Everything I've told you, everything I've felt, it's all real. You're the first real thing in my life in 12 years. I left without responding because I didn't trust myself to speak. I took the elevator down 47 floors, walked out into the pre-dawn darkness of Manhattan, and kept walking until I found myself in Central Park. I sat on a bench and watched the sun come up over the city, and tried to figure out who I was supposed to be now. The daughter seeking revenge? The doctor who saved lives? The woman in love with the wrong man? All of it. None of it. My phone buzzed. A text from Reagan. Coffee. You look like you need it. I looked up to find her standing 20 feet away, 2 cups from our favorite coffee cart in her hands. She must have tracked my phone, worried about me after I hadn't come home last night. I started crying. Reagan ran over and wrapped me in a hug, coffee and all, and let me sob into her shoulder while early morning joggers gave us a wide berth. I messed up, I choked out. I messed everything up. I know, honey. But we'll figure it out. Whatever happened, we'll figure it out together. I pulled back and looked at my best friend, the one person who had been there through everything without agenda or manipulation. I need to tell you the whole truth. All of it. And then I need your help deciding what to do. We sat on that bench and I told her everything. About my father and the ring and the investigation and Dante. About falling in love with the enemy and discovering his family's crimes and not knowing who to trust anymore. Reagan listened without interrupting, her face cycling through shock and anger and sympathy. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she said the last thing I expected. I think you should work with him. What? I think Dante is telling the truth. I think his mother is the real monster. And I think the only way you're going to get justice for your father is from the inside. She grabbed my hands. But you can't do it alone. You need allies. You need evidence. You need someone who knows the family's secrets. I can't trust him, Reagan. How can I trust someone whose family destroyed mine? You don't have to trust him. You just have to use him. Her eyes were fierce. Let him think you're working together. Let him give you access to his mother and her secrets. But keep your guard up. Protect your heart. And the second you have enough evidence to bury them all, you do it. You burn down the entire Russo empire and you make sure they can never hurt anyone else. It was ruthless and calculating, and exactly the kind of plan my father would have hated. But my father's honor had gotten him killed. Maybe it was time to fight fire with fire. Maybe the only way to destroy the Russo family was to become as ruthless as they were. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Dr. Okonkwo. "We need to talk. Come to my house immediately." My stomach dropped. Something was wrong. I could feel it. Reagan and I took a cab to Brooklyn. Dr. Okonkwo's front door was open when we arrived. That was the first sign something was very wrong. He never left his door unlocked, let alone open. I ran inside, Reagan right behind me. "Dr. Okonkwo." "Felix." I found him in his kitchen, sitting at the table with his head in his hands. When he looked up, his face was gray with fear. "They know," he said hoarsely. "Valentina Russo knows who you are. She called me an hour ago. She knows you're Nico Moretti's daughter. She knows you've been seeing Dante. She knows everything." My blood turned to ice. "How?" "She has people everywhere. Investigators. Informants. She figured it out." His hands shook as he pushed an envelope across the table to me. "She sent this. She said to make sure you read it." I opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a single piece of paper with a message typed in block letters. "Thanksgiving dinner. The estate. You, Dante, and your questions. Come and get your answers. Or refuse and watch everyone you love disappear the same way your father did. Your choice." Below the message was a photo. Dr. Okonkwo walking into his house. Reagan getting coffee this morning. Me sitting on that park bench. All taken within the last 24 hours. All proof that Valentina Russo had been watching us. All of us. And could get to us whenever she wanted. "She's not giving me a choice," I whispered. "She's forcing me to come to her." "It's a trap," Reagan said. "Obviously it's a trap. You can't go." But I was already thinking about Thanksgiving. 4 days away. 4 days to prepare. For days to figure out how to walk into the lion's den and survive. My phone rang. "Dante." I answered. "My mother called me," he said without preamble. "She knows everything. She's summoning both of us to Thanksgiving dinner. Sienna, this is bad. When she does this, when she gathers everyone together, it's because she's making a power play. She's going to confront you. She's going to make you an example. Or I make her one," I said quietly. "What?" 4 days. "Dante, you said you want to help me bring down your mother. You said you want justice. Prove it. 4 days to gather evidence. 4 days to build a case. 4 days to figure out how to destroy Valentina Russo at her own Thanksgiving dinner." There was silence on the other end. Then, "You're serious. Dead serious. Your mother wants to threaten me? Fine. Let's see how she handles someone who refuses to be scared. Someone who fights back. Someone who has nothing left to lose." My voice was steel. "Are you with me or not?" Another pause. Then, "I'm with you. Whatever you need. Whatever it takes." "Good. Then let's give Valentina Russo a Thanksgiving she'll never forget." I hung up and looked at Reagan and Dr. Okonkwo. They both looked terrified. I probably should have been terrified too. But all I felt was cold, clear fury. Valentina Russo had taken my father. She had destroyed my family. She had controlled my life from the shadows for 12 years. And now she thought she could threaten the people I loved and I would just roll over and accept it. She had no idea who she was dealing with. 4 days until Thanksgiving. 4 days to prepare for war. 4 days to gather every piece of evidence I could find and figure out how to expose a woman who had spent decades being untouchable. And at the end of those 4 days, one way or another, the truth about the Russo family was going to come out. Either I would destroy them, or they would destroy me. But I wasn't going down without a fight. 4 days had never felt so long and so short at the same time. I barely slept. Barely ate. Every waking moment was spent preparing for Thanksgiving dinner at the Russo estate. Preparing for war. Dante and I met in secret, away from prying eyes that we both knew were watching. Coffee shops in Brooklyn. Park benches in Queens. A different location every time, never establishing a pattern. He brought me files, documents, recorded conversations, 12 years of evidence about his mother's criminal enterprise that he had been quietly collecting, waiting for the right moment to use. She keeps meticulous records, he explained during one of our meetings. Every acquisition, every deal, every threat. She's arrogant enough to document everything because she never thought anyone would dare use it against her. Why haven't you used it before? His jaw tightened. Because she's my mother. Because I kept hoping she would change. Because I was a coward who chose family loyalty over doing what was right. He looked at me with tortured eyes. But I'm done choosing her over innocent people. I'm done letting her destroy lives without consequences. Reagan helped me organize everything. Spreadsheets, timelines, cross-references between different cases. We worked at her apartment, surrounded by empty coffee cups and printed documents, building an ironclad case against Valentina Russo. This is insane, Reagan muttered on the third night, highlighting another connection. She's been operating like this for decades. How has no one stopped her? Because she's careful. Because she owns the right people. Because victims are too scared to come forward. I stared at a photo of my father from one of Dante's files, taken days before he disappeared. But she made one mistake. She let me live. And now I'm going to make sure she regrets it. Dr. Okonkwo was less supportive. He came to Reagan's apartment on Wednesday night, the day before Thanksgiving, and found us buried in evidence. This has to stop, he said, his voice shaking. Sienna, you're going to get yourself killed. Valentina Russo doesn't lose. She doesn't get exposed. She destroys anyone who tries. Then I'll be the first person who succeeds. You're not listening to me. He grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to look at him. Your father tried this exact thing. He gathered evidence. He thought he could bring her down. And look what happened to him. I can't lose you too. I won't survive losing you too. The pain in his voice cracked something inside me. I pulled him into a hug. This man who had been my father when I had none, who had protected me and raised me and loved me despite the danger it put him in. I have to do this, I whispered. I have to make his death mean something. I have to make sure no other family goes through what we went through. You understand that, right? He pulled back, tears in his eyes. I understand. I just wish I didn't. I wish you could walk away and be safe and live a long, happy life far from all of this. That's not the life I get to have. Not anymore. He left that night looking older than I had ever seen him. Reagan watched him go, then turned to me. You ready for tomorrow? I looked at the evidence spread across her apartment. Documents proving fraud, extortion, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder. 12 years of crimes laid bare. Everything we needed to destroy Valentina Russo. As ready as I'll ever be. Thanksgiving morning dawned cold and gray, the sky threatening snow. I put on a burgundy dress, elegant and understated. I did my makeup carefully, my hands steady despite the fear churning in my stomach. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked fierce, determined, nothing like the scared 16-year-old girl who had lost everything. My father would either be proud or horrified. Maybe both. Dante picked me up at noon. He looked as tense as I felt, his jaw tight, his movements jerky. We didn't speak during the drive to Westchester. What was there to say? We both knew what was waiting for us. We both knew this dinner would change everything. The Russo estate looked different in daylight. Less imposing, more like what it really was. A prison disguised as a palace. Dante's hand found mine as we walked to the door. Whatever happens in there, I'm on your side, he said quietly. I know you don't fully trust me yet. But I need you to know that. I'm with you until the end. I squeezed his hand once, then let go. Let's finish this. The dining room was already full when we arrived. Valentina sat at the head of the table, regal in black and pearls. Around her were people I recognized from photos in Dante's files. Carlo Benedetti, her chief enforcer. Maria Santos, her lawyer. Vincent Chen, who handled her money laundering operations. At least a dozen people, all key players in the Russo criminal empire. This wasn't a family dinner. This was a tribunal. Valentina smiled when she saw us, but it was the smile of a predator about to strike. Dante. Dr. Moretti. How lovely of you to join us. Please, sit. 2 chairs had been left empty across from her. Positions of submission, where she could stare us down while she ate. I sat without hesitation, meeting her cold eyes with my own. If she expected me to be intimidated, she was about to be disappointed. Make sure you're still with me. Hit that like button if you can feel the tension building. This is about to get intense. I'm so glad you accepted my invitation, Valentina continued, her voice smooth as silk. We have so much to discuss. Don't we, Sienna? Or should I call you by your real name? Sienna Moretti, daughter of Nico Moretti, the man who thought he could stand against my family and win. The room went silent. Every eye turned to me. Dante's hand found mine under the table, a silent offer of support. I ignored it. That's right, I said clearly. I'm Nico Moretti's daughter, the girl you tried to erase. The loose end you thought you tied up 12 years ago. Surprise. I survived. Valentina's smile widened. I knew who you were the moment you walked into this house for dinner last month. Did you really think I wouldn't recognize your father's eyes? His stubborn chin? I've been watching you, dear. Watching you play detective. Watching you seduce my son. Watching you gather your little evidence collection like it matters. It matters, Dante said, his voice hard. She has proof of everything you've done. Every crime. Every family you destroyed. Every person who disappeared because they stood in your way. Does she? Valentina laughed, a sound like breaking glass. And what does she plan to do with this proof? Go to the police? The same police who are on my payroll? Go to the FBI. Half of them attend my charity galas. Go to the press? I own enough media outlets to bury any story before it sees daylight. She leaned forward. You have nothing, child. You are nothing. Just like your father was nothing. The rage that had been building in me for 4 days, for 12 years, for my entire life suddenly exploded. My father was a good man. He built something honest and beautiful. He stood up to you when everyone else was too scared. He tried to protect his family and his legacy. And you murdered him for it. You stole everything he worked for, destroyed everyone he loved, and thought you could just move on like it didn't matter. Like he didn't matter. I stood, pulling the USB drive from my purse. But he did matter. And this proves it. Every conversation you thought was private. Every order you gave. Every threat you made. It's all here. Dated. Documented. Undeniable. I threw the drive onto the table. It skittered across the polished wood and stopped in front of Valentina's plate. She looked at it like it was a bug that had crawled onto her Thanksgiving feast. 12 years of evidence, I continued. Fraud. Extortion. Money laundering. Conspiracy to commit murder. Multiple counts. Multiple victims. The Moretti family was just one of dozens you destroyed. But we're the ones who are going to bring you down. Valentina picked up the USB drive, examined it, then calmly placed it on her napkin. Impressive. You've been busy. But you're forgetting something crucial, my dear. She snapped her fingers. Carlo Benedetti stood and placed a folder in front of me. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside were photos. Recent photos. Dr. Okonkwo at the hospital. Reagan leaving her apartment. My colleagues at Manhattan General. All the people I cared about, captured by surveillance cameras, marked with red X's. Insurance, Valentina said softly. You release any of your so-called evidence, and everyone in those photos disappears. Not quickly. Not mercifully. Slowly. Painfully. While you watch and know it's your fault. Her eyes glittered with malice. Your father made the same mistake you're making. He thought he could threaten me into backing down. He thought evidence mattered more than power. I taught him how wrong he was. Would you like me to teach you the same lesson? My blood turned to ice. She had anticipated everything. Of course she had. She had been playing this game for decades while I was still learning the rules. You can't keep threatening people forever, Dante said, standing beside me. Eventually someone will stand up to you. Eventually your empire will fall. Will it? Valentina turned her cold gaze on her son. And will you be the one to bring it down, Dante? Your own mother? The woman who raised you, who built everything you enjoy, who made you into the man you are today. She stood, her voice dropping to something dangerous. You're weak, just like your father was weak. He couldn't make the hard decisions either. That's why I had to take over. That's why I've run this family for the past 13 years. Because someone needs to be strong enough to do what's necessary. What's necessary? Dante's voice shook with rage. You call murder necessary? You call destroying innocent families necessary? You've turned our name into something people fear instead of respect. You've built an empire on blood and suffering. And you're so twisted that you actually think you're the hero of this story. I'm the survivor. Valentina's voice was ice. I'm the one who does what needs to be done while people like you and Nico Moretti hide behind honor and morality like they're shields. But they're not shields. They're weaknesses. And weaknesses get exploited. She walked around the table slowly, predatory. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me every copy of that evidence. Every file. Every recording. Every document. You're going to delete everything from your computers and phones. And then you're going to walk away from each other and never speak again. Sienna will go back to her hospital and her little life and forget the Russo family exists. And Dante will remember where his loyalty belongs. No. The word came out of me strong and clear. I'm done being scared of you. I'm done letting you control my life. You took my father. You took my family. You took 12 years from me. But you don't get to take my future. And you don't get to hurt anyone else. I pulled out my phone. On the screen was a live stream, broadcasting everything that had just happened. Every word Valentina had said. Every threat she had made. Streaming to a private server that would automatically upload to multiple news outlets and law enforcement agencies if I didn't enter a code within the next hour. You're not the only one who understands insurance, I said. The room erupted. Carlo Benedetti lunged for me. Dante stepped between us. Maria Santos was on her phone, probably calling lawyers. Vincent Chen looked like he was calculating escape routes. And Valentina just stood there, staring at me with something that might have been respect if it wasn't wrapped in so much hate. You clever little girl, she said softly. You really are your father's daughter. He would have been proud of this play. She tilted her head. But you've made a critical error. You assume I care about exposure. You assume I'm afraid of consequences. Let me tell you a secret, Sienna. I've been untouchable for 30 years. I have files on everyone who matters. Judges, politicians, police commissioners, FBI directors. If I go down, I take half of New York's power structure with me. And they know it. Which means they'll protect me, because protecting me protects them. She smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing I had ever seen. So go ahead. Release your evidence. Upload your stream. Make your accusations. By tomorrow morning, every charge will be dismissed. Every witness will recant. Every piece of evidence will be declared inadmissible. And you'll be the one facing charges. Harassment. Defamation. Stalking. Breaking and entering. I'll destroy your medical license, your reputation, your entire life. And then, when you have nothing left, when you're completely broken, I'll make sure you disappear just like your father did. Comment below and tell me if you think Sienna's plan is going to work or if Valentina has won. What would you do in this situation? My hand holding the phone shook. She was right. She was probably right. The system was too corrupt, her power too entrenched. My father had learned that lesson the hard way. How arrogant of me to think I could succeed where he had failed. But then Dante stepped forward. You're forgetting something, Mother. You always forget the same thing. You think power is about fear and control and how many people you own. But real power is about what people are willing to sacrifice for what they believe in. He pulled out his own phone. I've been recording this dinner too. But I'm not sending it to the news or the police or anyone you can threaten or bribe. I'm sending it to the families. Every family you've destroyed over the past 30 years. Every person who lost someone to your empire. Every victim who's been too scared to come forward. His voice was steady, final. You can make evidence disappear. You can pay off officials. But you can't silence 100 victims all telling the same story at the same time. You can't disappear that many people without everyone noticing. Valentina's face went pale. You wouldn't dare. They're your family too. Your legacy. No. They're your legacy. And I'm done carrying it for you. He looked at me, and in his eyes I saw everything he was giving up. His family. His empire. His entire identity. I choose her. I choose justice. I choose being able to look at myself in the mirror and not hate what I see. For the first time in my life, I saw Valentina Russo lose her composure. Rage twisted her elegant features into something ugly. If you do this, you're dead to me. You'll have nothing. No family. No money. No protection. The enemies I've made over the years will come for you, and I won't lift a finger to help. I know. Dante's voice didn't waver. I'm ready for that. He hit send. His finger pressed the button that would distribute the recording to hundreds of email addresses. Victims. Families. People who had been waiting decades for proof that their suffering had been real, that the Russo family was responsible, that justice was possible. The room was chaos. People shouting. Phones ringing. Valentina screaming at Dante in Italian. But I couldn't hear any of it over the pounding of my heart. We had done it. We had actually done it. Or had we? Valentina's words echoed in my mind. Would the evidence stick? Would the charges hold? Or would this all disappear by morning, buried under the weight of corruption and power? I didn't know. But for the first time in 12 years, I had hope. Dante grabbed my hand. We need to leave. Now. Before she regains control of the situation. We ran. Through the dining room. Through the hallway. Past staff who didn't know whether to stop us or let us go. Out the front door into the cold November afternoon. We ran to his car, and he drove like demons were chasing us. Maybe they were. We didn't speak until we were back in Manhattan, parked outside my apartment building. Then we just sat there, breathing hard, processing what had just happened. You sacrificed everything for me, I said finally. No. I sacrificed everything corrupt and poisonous in my life so I could have a chance at something real. There's a difference. He turned to me, his face raw with emotion. I meant what I said in there. I choose you. I choose us. If you'll have me. I looked at this man who had started as my enemy, who had become my ally, who had just destroyed his own family to give mine justice. I thought about my father's letter, telling me not to seek revenge, to live my life and be happy. Maybe justice and happiness didn't have to be separate things. Maybe I could have both. I leaned across the console and kissed him. Not gently, not tentatively, but with everything I felt. Gratitude and rage and love and fear all tangled together into something that felt like truth. When we pulled apart, we were both crying. What happens now? I whispered. Now we wait. We see if the evidence sticks. We see if the victims come forward. We see if the system actually works for once. He brushed a tear from my cheek. And we figure out how to build a life from the ashes of the ones we left behind. I nodded. It wasn't a guarantee. It wasn't a happy ending. But it was a chance. And sometimes a chance was all you got. I got out of the car and walked toward my building. Dante drove away, and I watched his taillights disappear into traffic. I climbed the stairs to my third-floor apartment, exhausted and exhilarated and terrified about what tomorrow would bring. I unlocked my door and stepped inside, and froze. Sitting on my coffee table was a manila envelope. Large. Thick. It hadn't been there when I left this morning. Someone had been in my apartment again. My hands shook as I picked it up. No address. No markings. Just my name written in elegant script across the front. Inside were legal documents. Lots of them. A lawsuit. Valentina Russo versus Dr. Sienna Moretti. The charges were exactly what she had threatened. Harassment. Defamation. Emotional distress. She was suing me for $50 million and demanding I be stripped of my medical license. The court date was December 23rd. 4 weeks away. 4 weeks to prepare a defense against a woman with unlimited resources and the best lawyer's money could buy. But there was something else in the envelope. A second, smaller envelope. Unmarked. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was another USB drive and a note in handwriting I recognized. Dante's. The truth about that night. What really happened to your father. Everything my mother has been hiding for 12 years. I'm sorry you have to learn it this way. I'm sorry for all of it. But you deserve to know. You deserve the whole truth. Even the parts that will break your heart. I love you. I'm so sorry. D. My legs gave out. I sank onto the couch, staring at the USB drive like it was a live grenade. The truth about my father's disappearance. The answers I had been seeking for 12 years. Everything I thought I wanted to know. So why was I suddenly terrified to find out? Subscribe if you need to know what's on that drive. Comment and tell me if you think Sienna should watch it, or if some truths are better left buried. What secrets has Valentina been hiding all these years? I sat in my apartment, holding the USB drive that contained the truth about my father's last night, and realized that everything I thought I knew was about to change again. That Thanksgiving dinner hadn't been the end of anything. It had only been the beginning. I stared at the USB drive for 3 hours before I found the courage to plug it into my laptop. My hands shook so badly I could barely get it into the port. Whatever was on this drive, Dante thought it would break my heart. He thought I deserved to know but was sorry I had to find out. That wasn't reassuring. The drive contained a single video file. No label. No description. Just a timestamp. November 26th, 2012. 3 days before my father disappeared. I clicked play. The video was grainy, clearly from a security camera. It showed an office I didn't recognize. Expensive furniture. Large windows overlooking the city. And 2 people sitting across from each other at a massive desk. Valentina Russo. And my father. My breath caught. This was him. Alive. Moving. Speaking. I hadn't seen video of him in 12 years. Hadn't heard his voice. Seeing him now, even on a screen, even knowing how the story ended, made my chest feel like it was caving in. The audio was muffled but audible. Valentina spoke first, her voice calm and businesslike. Mr. Moretti, thank you for coming. I understand you've been avoiding my calls. My father's voice, the voice I had almost forgotten, responded. I don't want to sell, Mrs. Russo. Moretti's has been in my family for 3 generations. It's not for sale at any price. Everything is for sale at the right price. You just haven't heard my best offer yet. There is no offer that would make me give up my family's legacy. I'm sorry you wasted your time. He stood to leave. Valentina's voice stopped him. Sit down, Mr. Moretti. We're not finished. Something in her tone made him pause. Made him sit back down. I could see the fear in his eyes even through the grainy footage. Let me be clear about your situation, Valentina continued. Your restaurant sits on property I need for a development project. I've acquired every other business on that block. You're the last holdout. The last obstacle between me and a very lucrative deal. Now, I've made you generous offers. Far more than your property is worth. But you keep refusing. That's becoming a problem. I have a right to refuse. Rights. Valentina laughed. Such a quaint concept. Let me tell you about rights, Mr. Moretti. You have the right to sell me your property for a fair price and walk away with enough money to start over somewhere else. Or you have the right to refuse and watch everything you love slowly destroyed. Those are your two rights. Choose wisely. My father's jaw clenched. I recognized that expression. Stubborn. Defiant. The same expression I saw in my own mirror when I was determined not to back down. You can't threaten me into selling. I'll go to the police. The police. Valentina's smile was cold. Please do. Tell them Valentina Russo made you a legitimate offer to purchase your property. Tell them you refused. Tell them I'm now making you another legitimate offer. Where's the crime in that, Mr. Moretti? Where's the threat? It's just business. You know what you're doing. You know exactly what you're implying. I'm implying nothing. I'm stating facts. You have a beautiful daughter. Sienna, isn't it? 16 years old. Smart girl. Planning to go to medical school. It would be tragic if something happened to derail those plans. An accident. A scandal. Something that made colleges think twice about accepting her. I watched my father's face drain of color. Watched him realize that Valentina wasn't just threatening him. She was threatening me. You leave my daughter out of this. Then sell me your property. Take the money. Move somewhere safe. Raise your family far away from New York and all its dangers. It's really very simple. My father stood again, his whole body shaking with rage. I need time to think. You have 48 hours. After that, the offer expires. And my patience expires. And you'll learn exactly what happens to people who stand in my way. The video cut out. But there was more. Another file. Same date. Different timestamp. 2 hours later. This footage showed my father in what looked like a wire room. FBI agents surrounded him. One of them, a woman with short dark hair, was attaching a recording device to his chest. You're doing the right thing, Mr. Moretti, she said. We've been trying to get evidence on Valentina Russo for years. She's too careful, too smart. But if you can get her to make explicit threats on tape, we can bring her down. What about protection for my family? My father asked. She threatened my daughter. I need guarantees that Sienna and my wife will be safe. We'll put you all in witness protection after we make the arrest. New names. New city. You'll be completely safe. And if something goes wrong, if she finds out I'm working with you. The FBI agent's face was grim. Then you run. You take your family and you disappear before she can retaliate. We'll help you. But Mr. Moretti, nothing is going to go wrong. We have a solid plan. We have backup. We have everything in place. My father nodded, but I could see the fear in his eyes. He knew how dangerous this was. He knew he was gambling with all our lives. But he was doing it anyway because he believed in justice. Because he thought he could stop Valentina Russo from hurting anyone else. If you're feeling the weight of what Sienna is discovering, hit that like button. Let me know you're here experiencing this with me. The third video file was dated 3 days later, November 29th, 2012. The day my father disappeared. The footage showed my father entering the same office from the first video. But this time something was different. His movements were jerky, nervous. The wire under his shirt was visible if you knew what to look for. He was sweating despite the cool November weather. Valentina was waiting for him. And she wasn't alone. Carlo Benedetti stood behind her, arms crossed, expressionless. My father's eyes widened when he saw the enforcer. This wasn't supposed to happen. The FBI had told him it would just be Valentina. That they'd be listening. That backup was ready. Mr. Moretti, Valentina said pleasantly. Have you made your decision? I need more time. Time's up. 48 hours, I said. It's been 72. I'm already being more generous than you deserve. She stood and walked around her desk. But I'm a reasonable woman. I'm willing to extend one final offer. Sell me your property today, right now, and we'll forget this unpleasantness ever happened. You'll walk out of here with a check, and your family will be safe. And if I refuse? Valentina's expression hardened. Then I stopped being reasonable. She nodded to Carlo. He moved so fast my father didn't have time to react. One moment he was standing. The next he was on the ground, Carlo's hand around his throat. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Valentina's voice was ice. Did you think I wouldn't discover you were wearing a wire? That you were working with the FBI? That you were stupid enough to try to trap me? She reached down and ripped open my father's shirt. The recording device was clearly visible, a small black box taped to his chest. She pulled it off and crushed it under her heel. The FBI isn't coming, Nico. I own half the agents in this city. The one you've been working with? She's been feeding me information from the start. Every plan, every meeting, every piece of evidence you thought you were gathering. I knew about all of it. My father's face was turning purple from Carlo's grip. He clawed at the hand around his throat, gasping for air. Let him breathe, Valentina ordered. Carlo released his grip slightly. My father sucked in desperate breaths. You have one chance to fix this, Nico. One chance to save your family. Tell me where you've hidden the evidence. Tell me every piece of documentation you've gathered. Give me everything and I'll let you live. My father's voice was hoarse, broken. I don't have copies. Everything was with the FBI. Please, please don't hurt my family. Valentina studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was the cruelest smile I had ever seen. I believe you. You're not smart enough to have made backup copies, which means you're no longer useful to me. She nodded to Carlo again. Take him to the warehouse. Keep him alive. He's going to tell us everything he knows about who else might be investigating us. And then we'll decide what to do with him. No, please. I told you everything. I don't know anything else. Please, my daughter, my wife. They don't know anything about this. Your wife and daughter will be fine. As long as they never come looking for answers. As long as they accept that you disappeared and move on with their lives. The moment they start asking questions, the moment they become a problem, they'll join you. Understood. Carlo dragged my father toward the door. My father fought, screaming, begging, promising anything if they just let him go. The door closed. The office was silent except for Valentina's breathing. She walked to the window and looked out at the city. When she spoke, it was to herself, but the camera caught every word. Men like Nico Moretti never learn. They think honor and justice matter. They think being right protects them. They never understand that power is the only thing that matters. Power and the willingness to use it without mercy. She turned from the window. Call the cleanup crew. I want every trace of him erased. And put surveillance on his family. If they start digging, I want to know immediately. The video ended. I sat staring at my laptop screen, tears streaming down my face, my whole body shaking. My father hadn't just disappeared. He had been taken, tortured for information, kept alive in a warehouse somewhere while my mother and I searched desperately for any trace of him. How long had they kept him alive? Days, weeks, months. How long had he suffered while I put up missing person flyers and begged the police to help? And the FBI. The FBI had betrayed him. The agent he trusted had been working for Valentina. My father had tried to do the right thing, tried to bring down a criminal empire, and the system had failed him. Just like it failed everyone who tried to stand against people with enough money and power. My phone rang. I couldn't answer it. Couldn't move. Couldn't think past the images burned into my brain of my father being dragged away, screaming my name, begging for his family to be spared. The phone kept ringing. Finally, numbly, I looked at the screen. Reagan. I answered without speaking. Sienna? Oh, thank God. I've been trying to reach you for an hour. Have you seen the news? What news? The story broke. The Russo evidence. Victims are coming forward. It's everywhere. CNN, MSNBC, The New York Times. The FBI just announced they're opening an investigation. Sienna, it's actually happening. Valentina Russo is going down. I should have felt triumphant. Vindicated. This was what I wanted. Justice. Exposure. Everything I'd been fighting for. But all I felt was hollow. Sienna? Are you there? Did you hear me? My father tried this exact thing 12 years ago. The FBI betrayed him. They're going to betray us too. What are you talking about? I told her about the videos. About my father working with the FBI. About the agent who was really working for Valentina. About my father being taken to a warehouse and kept alive, tortured, while we searched for him. Reagan was silent for a long time. Then, where is he now? If they kept him alive then, is he still alive now? The question hit me like lightning. I hadn't even considered it. I'd been so focused on the horror of what happened that I hadn't thought about the logical question. If they kept him alive for information, if Valentina used him as leverage, if he was valuable enough to torture instead of kill immediately, was there a chance he was still alive somewhere? 12 years was a long time. Too long. Nobody survived that long as a prisoner. It was impossible. But then again, everything about the past month had been impossible. Saving Dante's life. Falling in love with my enemy. Gathering evidence against Valentina Russo. Surviving Thanksgiving dinner. Watching the news break in real time. What if? What if there was a chance? I need to find that warehouse, I said. Sienna, no. Even if he's alive, even if there's a chance, you can't go looking for him. It's too dangerous. Valentina knows you're a threat now. She's actively trying to destroy you. If you go near any of her properties, she'll kill you. Then I'll die trying to save my father. Just like he was willing to die trying to save me. I hung up before Reagan could argue further. I called Dante. He answered immediately. Did you watch it? His voice was heavy with sorrow. All of it. The warehouse. Dante. Where is the warehouse where they took him? Where does your family keep people they want to disappear? Sienna, I don't know. Those operations, my mother keeps them compartmentalized. I don't have access to that information. I've tried to find out over the years, but she's too careful. Someone knows. Someone in your family knows where that warehouse is. I need names. I need locations. I need something. Even if I could get you that information, what are you going to do? Storm in there alone. You'll be killed before you get through the door. I don't care. I have to know. I have to know if he's alive. I have to try to save him. My voice broke. You saw what was on that drive. You know what your mother did. Help me fix it. Help me bring him home. Dante was quiet for so long I thought he'd hung up. Then, there's someone. An old friend of my father's. He helped my mother with the dirty work back in the early days before he retired. If anyone knows about that warehouse, it's him. But Sienna, he's dangerous. And he's loyal to my mother. Getting information from him won't be easy. I don't need easy. I need possible. Meet me in an hour. We'll go see him together. But you need to prepare yourself for the possibility that your father isn't alive. That we're chasing a ghost. That this is just going to hurt more. I'm already hurt. I'm already broken. What's a little more pain compared to the chance of getting him back? I hung up and stared at the frozen image on my laptop screen. My father's face, terrified and desperate, being dragged away by Carlo Benedetti. For 12 years I thought he was dead. For 12 years I mourned him and moved on and built a life from the ashes. What if I was wrong? What if he was alive somewhere, waiting for rescue, hoping someone would find him? I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. Stop looking. Your father is dead. Accept it and move on or you'll join him. This is your last warning. I deleted the text and kept walking. Valentina Russo had spent 12 years controlling my life through fear and threats and the power of unanswered questions. But I wasn't that scared 16-year-old girl anymore. I was the woman who had survived everything she'd thrown at me. The woman who had gathered evidence and exposed her crimes and refused to be silenced. And I was the woman who was going to find out what really happened to my father, even if it killed me. Subscribe and hit that notification bell because what happens next is going to blow your mind. Drop a comment telling me if you think her father is still alive or if this is a trap. What would you do if you were in Sienna's position? I met Dante outside an old warehouse in Red Hook, Brooklyn. The neighborhood was industrial and desolate, the kind of place where screams wouldn't be heard and blood could be washed away without anyone noticing. The building looked abandoned, windows broken, graffiti covering the walls. But Dante knocked on a side door in a specific pattern. 3 quick knocks. Pause. 2 slow knocks. The door opened. The man on the other side was ancient, probably in his 80s, with liver-spotted skin and rheumy eyes. But those eyes were sharp, calculating, dangerous despite his age. "Dante Russo," he rasped. "Haven't seen you in years. And you brought company. Pretty company. Who's the girl?" "Her name is Sienna. We need information about a warehouse. One your organization used 12 years ago to hold someone. Nico Moretti. Do you remember him?" The old man's eyes widened. He looked at me more carefully. "You're the daughter. She has his eyes. Your mother figured out who she was. She knows everything. That's not your concern. The warehouse. Where was it?" The old man laughed, a sound like grinding gravel. "Information like that costs money, boy. Or blood. Which are you offering?" Dante pulled out an envelope. 50,000. Cash. For the location and any information about whether Moretti is still alive. The old man took the envelope, counted the bills with practiced fingers. Then he looked at me with something that might have been pity. "Your father was a brave man. Stupid, but brave. They kept him at Pier 47 for the first 6 months. Squeezed him for everything he knew. Then they moved him when the pier was sold. Transferred him to a facility upstate. A farm property your mother owns under a shell company." My heart stopped. Is he still there? Is he still alive? The old man shrugged. Last I heard, about 6 months ago, there were still 3 long-term residents at the farm. People too valuable to kill but too dangerous to release. Could be he's one of them. Could be he's dead and buried in the woods out back. Only one way to find out. He pulled out a piece of paper and scrawled an address. Handed it to Dante. "That's the farm. Middle of nowhere. Armed guards. Security system. You go there, you better go prepared. And girl." He looked at me. "If your father is still alive after 12 years in that hell, he's not going to be the man you remember. What they do to people there, what they take from them, it breaks something that can't be fixed. You might find him and wish you hadn't." I took the address from Dante's hand. Stared at it like it was a treasure map to everything I'd lost. "Thank you," I whispered. We left the warehouse and stood on the empty street. Dante put his hand on my shoulder. "We're not going tonight. It's too dangerous, too rushed. We need to plan. We need backup. We need. I'm going tonight. With or without you." He stared at me. Saw the determination in my eyes. The desperate, dangerous hope that I couldn't suppress no matter how much it terrified me. "Then I'm going with you," he said quietly. "Whatever happens. I'm not letting you face this alone." We drove north out of the city into darkness, chasing an address that might lead to my father or might lead to another grave. And I realized that the courtroom battle with Valentina, the lawsuit, the evidence, all of it was just noise. The real battle was about to begin at a farm in the middle of nowhere, where my father might be waiting for a rescue that was 12 years too late. The farm was 3 hours north of the city, buried deep in the Catskills where cell service died and streetlights didn't exist. We drove in silence. The address glowing on my phone screen like a beacon. Dante kept glancing at me, probably worried I'd shatter into pieces before we arrived. Maybe I would. Maybe finding my father alive after 12 years of thinking he was dead would break something in me that couldn't be repaired. Or maybe finding him dead would finish what Valentina started all those years ago. Either way, I had to know. The GPS led us down progressively smaller roads until we were on a dirt path barely wide enough for Dante's car. Trees pressed in on both sides, branches scraping the windows like skeletal fingers. Then the trees opened up and we saw it. A farmhouse. Lights on in the windows. 2 cars parked outside. And a barn behind it, large and windowless, the kind of structure that could hide anything. Dante killed the headlights and parked half a mile back, hidden by the tree line. We approached on foot, staying low, moving through the darkness like ghosts. My medical training kicked in, keeping my breathing steady, my movements controlled despite the adrenaline screaming through my veins. We got close enough to see figures moving past the farmhouse windows. 2 men, both armed, both alert. This wasn't an abandoned property. This was an active facility, just like the old man said. Which meant someone was inside that barn. Maybe my father. Maybe others. Maybe nothing but bodies and broken promises. Dante pulled me behind an old tractor, his hand over my mouth before I could protest. A 3rd guard had emerged from the barn, smoking a cigarette, rifle slung over his shoulder. He circled the property twice before heading back inside. "We can't just walk in there," Dante whispered. "We need backup. We need a plan. We need..." The barn door opened again. Someone was being dragged out. No, not dragged. Walked. Supported between 2 guards. A prisoner being moved. Even from this distance, even in the darkness, even after 12 years, I knew that walk. That posture. That shape. My father. I moved before thinking, before Dante could stop me. Ran toward the barn like every moment of medical training had evaporated. All I could see was my father, alive, real, so close after so many years of grief. "Stop! Sienna, stop!" Dante's voice behind me, desperate. The guards heard him, spun toward us. Rifles raised. Shouts of alarm. Everything happened in seconds. Dante tackled me to the ground as gunfire erupted. Bullets tore through the air where I'd been standing. My father's voice, weak but unmistakable, screaming my name. More guards poured from the farmhouse. Dante dragged me behind the tractor, shielding my body with his. His phone was already out, calling someone, shouting coordinates and demanding immediate assistance. "FBI is 10 minutes out," he gasped. "I've had them on standby since we left the city. I knew you'd do something reckless. I knew you wouldn't wait." "That's him. Dante, that's my father. He's alive. He's right there. And we're going to get him. But not by getting ourselves killed." The gunfire stopped. A voice called out from the farmhouse, cold and familiar. Not Valentina. Someone else. Someone whose voice I'd heard on those security videos. Carlo Benedetti. Dante Russo. I should have known. "Your mother said you'd turn traitor, but I didn't believe it." The heir to the Russo empire, hiding behind the FBI like a coward. Dante stood slowly, hands visible. "It's over, Carlo. The FBI knows about this place. They're on their way. You can surrender now, or you can add cop killing to your charges. Your choice." Carlo laughed. "The FBI has been on their way for 30 years. They've never touched us. They never will. Your mother owns half of them and terrifies the other half." He gestured to the guards. "Bring out the old man. Let's show Dante what happens to people who cross Valentina Russo." They dragged my father forward into the light from the farmhouse. I bit back a scream. 12 years had destroyed him. He was skeletal, scarred, his hair completely white. One eye was clouded over, probably blind. He moved like every step caused pain. But when he looked in our direction, when he saw me, his face transformed. 12 years of suffering vanished for one moment of pure joy. "Sienna," he whispered. "My baby girl. If this is breaking your heart the way it's breaking mine, hit that like button. Let me know you're feeling this." Carlo pressed a gun to my father's head. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to come out from behind that tractor, both of you, unarmed. You're going to get in my car. And we're going to drive back to the city so Mrs. Russo can decide what to do with her disappointing son and the girl who's caused so much trouble. And if we refuse? Dante asked. Then I put a bullet in Nico Moretti's brain, and you watch the man you came to save die 3 feet in front of you. Then I kill you both anyway. So really, you're just deciding whether he dies now or later. But at least if you cooperate, you get a few more minutes with your father, Sienna. A few more minutes to say the things you never got to say 12 years ago. It was a trap. Obviously a trap. Carlo had no intention of letting any of us leave alive. But what choice did we have? My father was right there, after 12 years of thinking he was gone. I couldn't watch him die. Not when I just found him. I stood up. Dante tried to pull me back down, but I shook him off. Walked toward Carlo with my hands raised. Let him go. Take me instead. I'm the one Valentina wants. I'm the one who's been causing problems. My father doesn't matter to her anymore. Carlo's smile was cruel. Your father has mattered to Mrs. Russo for 12 years. He's been very useful. Every time someone got too curious, every time a journalist started digging, every time a rival family tried to use his disappearance against us, we had proof of life. We had leverage. We had control. You think you're the first person to come looking for him? You're just the first one stupid enough to actually find him. Sirens in the distance. Faint but growing louder. The FBI actually coming. Dante hadn't been bluffing. Carlo heard them too. His expression hardened. Change of plans. If I can't deliver you to Mrs. Russo, I'll deliver her a message instead. He turned the gun toward me. My father lunged, 12 years of captivity forgotten, every ounce of strength he had left focused on protecting his daughter one last time. The gunshot was deafening. My father collapsed, and the world stopped making sense. I was screaming, running toward him. Dante was shouting, the guards were scattering as the sirens got louder, and Carlo was escaping into the barn. None of it mattered. All I could see was my father on the ground, blood spreading across his chest, his breath coming in wet gasps. I dropped to my knees beside him, my medical training finally overriding the panic. Assessed the wound. Sucking chest wound, right lung, possibly nicked the pulmonary artery. Fatal without immediate intervention. Maybe fatal even with it. My hands moved automatically. Pressure on the wound. Tilted him to keep the good lung clear. Checked his pulse, his breathing, his pupil response. Stay with me, Dad. Stay with me. Help is coming. You're going to be fine. You survived 12 years. You can survive 12 more minutes. His hand found mine. Squeezed weakly. Sienna, my brilliant girl. You became a doctor. Just like you wanted. Don't talk. Save your strength. We're going to get you to a hospital. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to save you. You already saved me. The day you were born. Every day you existed. Knowing you were out there, living your life, that's what kept me alive in this place. Tears blurred my vision. I looked for you. For years I looked for you. I never stopped believing you were out there somewhere. I know. I always knew you'd come. His breathing was getting shallower. The blood flow wasn't stopping despite my pressure. Internal bleeding. Probably massive. Even if the ambulance arrived right now, even if we got him to surgery in the next 5 minutes, the odds were impossible. But I'd built my career on beating impossible odds. On saving patients everyone else had given up on. FBI vehicles roared up the driveway. Agents poured out, surrounding the property. Someone was shouting about ambulances, about securing the scene, about suspects fleeing into the woods. Dante was giving commands, directing agents toward the barn where Carlo had disappeared. None of it reached me. My whole world had narrowed to my father's face, his hand in mine, his life slipping away after I'd just gotten him back. The evidence, he whispered. Everything I gathered. I hid copies. Before they took me. Storage unit in Queens. Unit 217. Password is your birthday. Give it to someone you trust. Finish what I started. You're going to finish it yourself. You're going to testify. You're going to watch Valentina Russo go to prison for what she did to you. He smiled. It was the saddest, most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I'm tired, baby girl. So tired. Let me rest now. Let me see your mother again. No, you don't get to give up. I didn't come all this way. I didn't fight this hard to watch you die. You're going to live. You're going to meet Reagan. You're going to walk me down the aisle someday. You're going to meet your grandchildren. You're going to have the life Valentina stole from you. But even as I said it, I felt his pulse weakening under my fingers. Felt his breathing slow. Watched the light start to fade from his eyes. The paramedics arrived, pushed me aside, started working with professional efficiency. IVs, oxygen, pressure bandages, all the things I would have done if my hands weren't shaking too badly to function. They loaded him onto a stretcher. Someone was telling me which hospital, telling me to follow, telling me he was stable for now. Stable. The word doctors used when they meant alive, but probably not for long. Dante appeared beside me, his jacket torn, dirt on his face. They got Carlo. He's in custody. And they found 2 other prisoners in the barn. Both alive. This place, everything here, it's evidence. It's enough to bury Valentina for good. I couldn't respond. Couldn't think past the image of my father's blood on my hands. We followed the ambulance back to the city. 3 hours of highway lit by flashing lights. My father's life hanging by a thread somewhere ahead of us. Dante held my hand the whole way, didn't try to fill the silence with empty reassurances. We were almost back to Manhattan when his phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face went pale. What? I asked. What happened? Your apartment. There's been a fire. Major damage. The fire department thinks it was arson. The pieces clicked together in my exhausted brain. Valentina knew we'd gone to the farm. Knew we'd found her secret prison. Knew her entire operation was about to be exposed. And she was striking back the only way she had left. Dante's phone rang again. Marco this time, his voice audible even through the speaker. Boss, it's your mother. She's declared war. She's calling in every favor, activating every asset, burning every bridge. She says if she's going down, she's taking everyone with her. And she has a message for the girl. What message? Marco's voice was grim. Some secrets should stay buried, or everyone burns. Drop a comment right now telling me what you think Valentina is going to do next. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? This story is about to explode. We arrived at Manhattan General just as my father was being rushed into surgery. I tried to follow, but a nurse stopped me, someone I knew from the ER, her face sympathetic but firm. You can't go in there, Sienna. You know the rules. Family can't treat family. Dr. Okonkwo is operating. He's the best we have. Your father is in good hands. Dr. Okonkwo, my mentor, the man who'd raised me after my father disappeared. Now he was trying to save the man he'd helped me mourn. The universe's sense of irony was unbearable. I collapsed into a waiting room chair. Dante sat beside me. We didn't speak. What was there to say? My father was dying on an operating table. My apartment was ashes. Valentina Russo had declared war. And somewhere in the city, evidence that could destroy her empire was sitting in a storage unit, waiting for someone brave enough to use it. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I almost deleted it, assuming it was another threat. But something made me open it. The message was simple. Just an address and a time. Tonight. Midnight. And 4 words. Come alone or he dies. No signature. No context. But I knew. Valentina wanted to meet. Wanted to end this face to face. And she had leverage I couldn't ignore, because she always had leverage. I looked at the operating room doors. Thought about my father fighting for his life behind them. Thought about everything he'd sacrificed, everything he'd suffered, all because he'd tried to stand up to Valentina Russo 12 years ago. And I made a decision that would either save everyone I loved or destroy us all. I stood up. Dante grabbed my arm. "Where are you going?" "To finish this." "Sienna, no. Whatever you're thinking, whatever text you just got, it's a trap. Valentina wants you emotional and reckless. Don't give her what she wants." I pulled free. She's had what she wants for 12 years. My fear. My pain. My father's life. I'm done giving her anything. It's time she gave something back. I walked out of the hospital into the cold December night, leaving Dante calling after me, leaving my father's fate in Dr. Okonkwo's capable hands, leaving behind every shred of caution and common sense. Valentina Russo wanted war. She was about to find out what happened when you pushed a woman who had absolutely nothing left to lose. The address led me to a penthouse in Midtown. The kind of building where doormen wore white gloves and security cameras tracked every breath. I walked through the lobby like I belonged there, like I wasn't covered in my father's blood, like my hands weren't still shaking from watching him nearly die. The elevator took me to the top floor. The doors opened directly into the penthouse. Valentina was waiting. She sat in a white leather chair by floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a glass of wine in her hand. She looked exactly like she had in those videos. Elegant. Composed. Utterly without mercy. "Dr. Moretti, thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. You didn't give me a choice. We always have choices, dear. Your father made his choice 12 years ago. You've made yours over these past months. And now we're here, at the end of all those choices, seeing what they've cost us." I stepped into the room. The door closed behind me. No guards that I could see, but I wasn't naive enough to think we were alone. Valentina never left herself vulnerable. "What do you want?" I asked. "The same thing I've wanted from the beginning. For you to stop. To walk away." Click the image showing on your screen right now to watch part 2. More betrayals, more truth, more secrets are yet to be uncovered.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.